Richard, you want to say something?
Thank you very much. Richard Stainthorpe. My daughter, who has just turned 27, was, so we're now talking over 20 years ago, was the member of the first Bulge class at Caversham Primary. I joined the governors at that school soon after that and have been a firm advocate of a extra primary school in the west of Caversham ever since. And I support the idea of the free school because, as has been made plain, it is the only way in which we will get that school in the current educational environment. But I do have concerns about this site, in that it is an acre. Now, Caversham Primary, where I'm still a governor, that will end up with approximately the same number, the new school will end up with approximately the same number of children as Caversham Primary. That is 14 classrooms, plus a staff room, plus somewhere for the head teacher, possibly the deputy, etc., etc., etc. Plus, well, and Caversham Primary, which is already under the legislation you had on space per pupil, is already too small, but its site is 4 times the size of this new site. Now, what I really want to ask, I used to be chair of planning on Reading Borough Council, and I used to become very well abreast of planning legislation. I understand there have been some changes, and I wonder whether someone, I appreciate there is no one from the planning department here, unfortunately, but someone with experience of planning, Councillor Hopper, for example, could possibly say what planning process this application will need to go through. Because having had experience of planning permissions in Caversham Heights before, the residents of this area can be very, very persistent in opposing planning applications. And unless some significant changes have been made, I think it's very optimistic to think you'll have a new school built there in 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of hands up. I'm going to go for the
Answer? Yeah, we'd like an answer.
Councillor Hopper.
Councillor Hopper.
Yes, Councillor Hopper.
I'm happy to do that. Can you ask me to do that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I hope everyone can hear me because I haven't got a throat mic. I'll just be too heavily into it. Sorry. So, yes, I was on planning, but only for 1 year, so actually not as experienced as Richard was back in the day when he was the chairman of the authority for that. However, as I understand it, what would have to happen now is a detailed plan would have to be put forward or drawn up first and then put forward by the EFA. That would then come to planning officers for consideration and consultation with members of the public. Having done that, it would then come through as a planning application, at which point everybody would be able to object to it or support it if they wished. And I would imagine it would come in front of the full planning committee, which is obviously as the council's control of the Labour group, it would be mainly the Labour councils who would then decide on whether that was suitable.
Sure.
Okay,
Mr. Hopper, just if you wouldn't mind clarifying.
Before you do so, sir, you just wanted to add something very quickly.
Yes, I'm still on the planning committee, and I've also chaired the planning committee before now, albeit for 1 year. I gathered from the EFA this morning that they will be using the formal pre-app service, and they will be consulting above and beyond what is necessary statutorily. And so the public will be getting an opportunity at that early stage before a formal planning application is submitted. I could go into a little bit more detail because Alison Bell, the director responsible for planning, amongst other things, she has said that pre-app, generally speaking, can take as little as 2 to 3 months, and then Reading Borough Council aims to, for 12 weeks, to determine a valid application. Moving on to sorry, I'm just reading her email from my phone. I asked,
Okay, well, you read that long, you'll take your thing now if you want to say something.
I just wanted to ask a clarification, and maybe Councillor Bolton is about to give it, but I just wanted to be sure that what we were hearing was that the EFA were not proposing to use permitted development rights
oh,
to
absolutely
steamroller
not.
through an application on this site.
Yeah,
And
has to be-
we'd
has to be a full plan.
like to be assured. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, so there'll be a formal pre-app, and then after that, there will be a formal planning application. So the EFA intends to consult the public. I'm not absolutely sure if it's before the pre-app or when they put their pre-app in, and then there is a further consultation for the proper planning, full planning application. So no, there is no risk of it just omitting going through the planning system. It has to go through the proper planning
Okay, so
procedure.
I've got two hands